If you've ever chosen a position for your brand and then immediately wondered if you made the wrong call, this video is for you. Because one of the hardest parts of positioning isn't deciding what to stand for, it's sitting with that decision long enough to see if it's actually working. For context, my name is Colin. I'm a full-time chief marketing officer, and on this channel, I like to slow things down and talk through marketing and branding and how they actually work when you strip away the noise, the tactics, and the panic. And that last part matters here because good positioning rarely feels obvious at first. In fact, it usually feels quiet. And if you don't understand what to look for, it's really easy to abandon something good before it ever has a chance to compound. When people try to figure out if their positioning is working, they usually look for proof in the wrong places. They look for instant feedback, spikes in engagement, immediate growth, clear external validation. And when they don't see those things right away, doubt creeps in. They start to ask questions like, is this resonating with them? Did we choose the wrong angle? Should we pivot already? But here's the thing. Positioning doesn't show up first as performance. It shows up as friction disappearing. Early on, good positioning is subtle. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with fireworks and dashboards lighting up. What it does instead is change the texture of things. Conversations get easier. Decisions feel clearer. Internally, people stop asking, can we say that? Can we say this? And they start saying, this feels like us. Externally, the feedback gets quieter, but more specific. Maybe fewer comments, but better ones. Messages that say, this finally clicked for me, or this sounds exactly like what I've been thinking. And if you're only watching for volume, you'll miss those signals entirely. Because positioning doesn't scream when it's working. It settles in. When positioning is working, it doesn't usually show up as a spike. It shows up as alignment. The first thing that changes is language. Internally, people start using the same words without being told to. Your team describes the brand the same way. Decisions get faster because there's less debate about what fits and what doesn't. Content gets easier to make, not because you suddenly have more ideas, but because you're filtering ideas more clearly. You stop asking, is this good? And you start asking, is this us? Externally, customers start reflecting your positioning back to you. Maybe not perfectly, but recognizably. They use phrases you've used. They describe you in ways that sound intentional and not generic. You start hearing things like, you guys are the ones who ... whatever. And that's a big deal because it means the idea is landing. Another thing that changes is resistance. The right customers move faster. The wrong ones opt out earlier. And that can feel scary at first, but it's actually a sign that your positioning is doing its job. When positioning is unclear, everyone hesitates. When positioning is clear, people self-select. And over time, that clarity compounds. Not loudly, but steadily. This is usually where the hardest questions start showing up. How long do you hold a position before you decide it's not working? And my honest answer is longer than you want to. Good positioning needs time because it's working on people's memory, not their impulse. If you're changing your positioning every few weeks based on performance swings, you're not positioning. You're reacting. That doesn't mean positioning should never evolve either. It should. But evolution comes from learning, not panic. A good rule of thumb is this. Don't ask, is this working yet? Ask instead, are the right signals starting to show up? Are conversations clear? Is internal decision making easier? Are customers describing you more specifically than before? If those things are happening, you don't need to pivot. You need patience. And if none of those things are changing over time, that's not a failure either. That's just feedback. But the adjustment should be deliberate, grounded. None of this full reset every time the numbers fluctuate. Because the biggest mistake brands make with positioning isn't choosing the wrong thing. It's abandoning the right thing too early. If you've chosen a position and it feels quiet right now, that doesn't mean it's not working. It often means it's settling in. Good positioning doesn't shout. It becomes familiar. And familiarity is what people reach for when the moment to decide finally arrives. If you're willing to choose and patient enough to reinforce that choice over time, clarity will start to compound. And when it does, everything else gets easier. I hope these thoughts find you well, and you consider them in your branding and marketing. Thank you for watching, truly, and I will see you on the next one.